What do you think? This suit make me look fast? They say that the universe is made of stories, not atoms. And if that is true, then our universe is large because we have many, many stories. This year, we begin with a story in 3 parts. Part 1 focuses on a book I read this summer called In the Wild Light by Jeff Zenter. Cash Pruitt and his friend Delaney live in Sawyer, Tennessee. And they love their life, but they know that there's more out there. And Delaney gets a chance to go to a boarding school in Connecticut, but she won't go unless Cash, her friend, goes with her. And so Cash and Delaney find themselves in Connecticut at a boarding school, and Cash feels out of place. He misses his grandfather and grandmother. He doesn't feel like he belongs. He feels lost and sometimes alone. And in a surprise to him, he finds himself in an intro to poetry class. And one day, the poetry teacher notices that he's not paying attention, that he's a little lost in thought. And so she asks him to stay after, and she asks him a question. Are you okay, Cash? Because I pay attention, Cash. You can't be a poet unless you do. And I see in you someone who wants to experience joy and is having a tough time doing that right now. Life often won't freely give you moments of joy. Sometimes you have to wrench them away and cup them in your hands to protect them from the wind and the rain. So we begin this year with a story told in 3 parts. Part 1. Once upon a time, I sat in an empty auditorium, all in black. Just last year, in fact. We were 6 months into a pandemic. We were scared and nervous. We didn't know what the future would hold. But it was the beginning of a new school year, so we were trying to be excited and hopeful. And you did what you always do. You found a way. You found a way to find those moments of joy. You dug in, you stayed up late, you wore masks, lots and lots of masks. You fed our kids, you found ways to get them to and from school. You gave them art supplies and science supplies. You left books in boxes. You were amazing last year. You did things that other people could only imagine. You told a great story. But stories that begin once upon a time are supposed to end, and they all lived happily ever after. But we found out that this story didn't end. It's a series. It has multiple parts. And so we come to part 2 this year. And we again, once more, are excited. We're anxious for the school year to begin. We wonder exactly what will happen. And so I sit in an empty auditorium, not scared like last year, but cautious, because we want to do the right thing. We want to protect our students and each other. And so we're being cautious, and that's a good thing. But we know this year will be a great year. And I'm confident, and I'm positive, and I'm excited, and I know that we will find a way to wrench joy from life and cup it in our hands and look at it and enjoy it and find ways to make this a great year. But we also know that it won't be easy. Part 2 of our story begins in the Novi High School library, surrounded by books. I hope this summer that you've had an opportunity to read and to think and reflect, to enjoy the stories of other people, to learn lessons from them. This summer I had the opportunity to reread a book that I had read a while ago, Finding Orion by John David Anderson. In the story, Ryan, who's a 12-year-old boy, his grandfather dies, and his family goes on an adventure trying to learn about his grandfather's life. In fact, they go on a scavenger hunt arranged by his grandfather's sister. And at one point during this adventure, Ryan starts to think about parenting, and he says this: "You fall and they catch you." I don't know a whole lot about parenting, being 12 years old and never even having kissed a girl, but I know that that's a big part of it, the catching, not the kissing. They wait at the end of the slide the first time you go down. They stand at the bottom of the stairs. They hold your hand as you teeter along the icy driveway. You're going to fall, they know it, so they spend 59 seconds of every minute watching so that they can be there when your shoelaces trip you up, waiting to say, "I got you." And so as Ryan thinks about his parents and what they've done for him in his life, he remembers a time when he was trying to learn to ride a bike. His mother started to teach him, but that didn't go so well, so his father steps in and says, "I'll teach you." 3 minutes later, I found myself at the top of our sharply slanted driveway, my knee and elbow pads in a pile in the grass, though my Spidey helmet, to match my future bike, was still snugly buckled to my noggin. 40 feet, Dad said, thumping me playfully on the top of the helmet. The driveway is 40 feet long, then it spits you straight out into the street. You don't even have to turn, just let gravity do the work, and when you hit the pavement, start to pedal. Easy peasy. My father thought organic chemistry was easy peasy. "I'm scared," I admitted. The driveway suddenly looked incredibly steep from atop Cass's sparkling, training wheelless bike, a veritable Everest, a one-way ticket to a fractured skull. "It's all right," Dad said. "Nothing terrible is going to happen to you, I promise." And as you might imagine, something terrible, at least according to Ryan, did happen. And he fell and he scraped his knee and he got pebbles embedded into his palm. And then his dad said, "That was good." Good, I thought. How in the world was that good? I barely made it 40 feet. "You promised," I sobbed at him. "I promised nothing terrible would happen," he corrected. "This isn't terrible. This is just a scratch." As we think of our students coming back to school this year, we are there to catch them if they fall. We're there to be with them at the top of the hill and let them go and watch them try and navigate on their own. But we know there will be times when they fall and scrape their knee and embed pebbles into their palm. We know that they will have success, but they will also have failure. And that's why you are there. You are there to catch them, to help them, to encourage them, to push them, to challenge them, to help them find their way. And why do we do this? Well, that reminded me of another story that I read this summer called The Emerald Mile. This is a history of the Grand Canyon wrapped around the adventure of a 3-person crew who was trying to sail through the Grand Canyon down the Colorado River in the fastest time ever. It really talks about the history of the Grand Canyon, who discovered it, how they discovered it, and why it's such an important piece of America. But at one point in the story, they talk about one of the captains of one of the boats. They're called dories. They're wooden boats that they go down the Colorado River in. And this is what the author says. "The dory captains know one other thing too. They know that the canyon and her dories embody an elusive riddle. It's a paradox rooted in the dream that many of us share of immersing ourselves so deeply, so inextricably into a pocket of landscape or a stretch of river, anything that seems to embody the wildness we have lost, that we may somehow take possession of those places and make them ours. Yet the truth, like an eddy, runs in the opposite direction. In the end, it is they that claim us, and we who belong to them. We come into our schools full of hope, full of desire, wanting to do the very best job possible. We come into our schools recognizing that we can make a difference. We look to own our classroom, to make sure that our students are going to have a great year. And yet in the end, it is our students who claim us. It is our students who make us theirs. And we would do anything for them. And so as we look to this upcoming year, we must recognize that our year awaits us because our students await us as well. They want us to guide them, to help them, to support them, to be there for them. And they have claimed a stake on our hearts that we must own. And that reminded me finally of this story, Forever or a Long, Long Time. It's the story of two young foster children. They have bounced around from foster home to foster home. And finally they were adopted. But one of them has a difficult time calling her adoptive mother, mother. And at one point she wants to explain that to her mother. After dinner, I take a deep breath and ask Person if we can go for a walk on the beach. Just my mom and me. I have something big to ask her. I'm nervous, and she can tell. But we're having this serious talk the way I want to, with our eyes on the waves, with the air moving around our faces. So I don't have to look at her when I say, "You and Margie and Vanessa love me like only a mother can," I say. "I think they did," Person says. "And you said sometimes that makes you sad that we had all these mothers, not just Margie and Vanessa, but Gloria and Marta, and I guess Jeannie too." "It shouldn't make me sad, Flora," Person says. "I don't want you to worry about that, okay?" I dig my toe into the sand and Person stops next to me. We both watch my toe. "I wanted to tell you that, to me, you're different." Person laughs, but I'm not making a joke or being cute. "I might not always believe you all the way, but I know you're different from the other mommies. I've known that from the start." "Do you want to know how I know that?" I risk it and look in her face. "Sure," she says. "Inside my head, I don't even call you Mom. I've just used that word too much." Person's eyebrows lower and I see her hand twitch. I'm afraid right now. I'm afraid she won't see this as a good thing. But also I believe in her. I believe in Person. And I believe in me. "What do you call me?" she asks. I smile. "I call you my Person." There are people here in our school district who count on you, who you are different than all the other teachers they've ever had, than all the other bus drivers, all the other secretaries. They look to you and they know that you're a person they can trust. They look to you and they know that you are a person that they can believe in. The second part of our story focuses on who you are and the job that you can do this year. There will be many someones that you will reach. You won't reach everyone, we know that. But every student in our school should have an adult who they believe is their person, who they believe believes in them, who they believe wants the very best for them. It could be you. It should be you. Because every student deserves that. So this is part 3 of our story. It's a brand new year, and I'm looking forward to the brand new year. But we'll remember the stories from last year. This suit reflects one of those stories from last year about a person we will always remember, a person that we will carry on her legacy. But this year is an opportunity for us to build and tell new stories, and I am looking forward to it. So welcome back. It is going to be a great year.